on the cult of free markets and libertarianism. This is a topic that is very much discussable in dissonant right circles. Ryan Falk has argued against market worship or the big businessman worship. And while the left claims that we as fascists and identitarians are just pawns of the capitalists, we really hate the unions, guys. Really hate the industrial worker union or our local car manufacturing union. And we really love Jeff Bezos, guys, don't we? Anyway, the argument is first that the businessman should be a captain of industry, which means that their first passion should be the success of the business as a whole, the workers, the manufacturing, and the stability of it, not their personal profit. The opposite of Andrew Tate's philosophy of grab as much money as you can before the business goes bankrupt and buy yourself a Bugatti and then corrupt a bunch of young women, because nothing says traditional male values like sleeping around with unmarried young women. And the other thing that we should oppose is Randian cult of the big businessman. These big businessmen have not gained their current status through libertarian methodology or methods. They have very much relied on government subsidies. So, for example, all the big banks during 2007 when they gave out too many loans, well, Obama bailed them out, and that caused a march on Wall Street called Occupy Wall Street. And the based Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, they all receive government subsidies. Especially Musk has been shown to use a lot of them after he claimed that, we're going to cut government waste and, but my company is just based in Randian capitalist. We don't need no government. They receive subsidies. And the point of these subsidies and the lobbying is that they lobby the government. The government puts a regulatory burden which increases the barrier to entry. So only their corporations get to play, because the smaller corporations don't have the lawyers, the legal funds to pay for the compliance with like increasing amounts of these regulations. And on top of that, they get tax breaks, and then they get subsidies from working and middle class taxes, which is really meritocratic, guys. You really earn that money. You really convinced the customer voluntarily, just like in Ancapistan, to buy your crap, right? And also, we need to talk about the production, waste of production capacity. We shouldn't think only in money. That's ultimately a means of exchange, but not the final product. We need to talk about like the production of degenerate crap, like casinos, tobacco, alcohol, fast fashion, one of the most disgusting industries I've ever seen in my research career. I think that, especially in times of national emergency, for example, you want to deport a large part of the population who has committed criminal acts, and they happen to work in these like sweatshops, and you have like a labor shortage due to that, for example, then you should reroute your production of luxury goods towards necessities. Necessities comes first. You need to do certain economic planning. The market is not magic. The consumer choices are also not magic. I've learned in a marketing course that the homo economicus is it's a very dumb myth in like actual measurable ways. If you look at consumer behavior, right, what do they choose based on if there's like multiple products? They don't go scan through the prices and the read through the lists. They look at the colors, the pretty colors on the package, and they can be convinced through advertising propaganda to do very stupid things. Like, for example, a lot of lower class people, poor people, working class people, they buy lottery tickets. Now, if you have learned any sort of mathematical theory of probability, now it's a very low chance to actually get something, like to win something in these lotteries, but they keep buying that because the propaganda has convinced them, and they're not actually that high IQ. Or like alcohol or drugs or tobacco, whatever. The guys who buy it in excess, like Tate buys all his fucking cigars, and your boomer dad buys beer and says beer in belly is bliss. Like he's just getting obese and getting liver damage. And well, and when the government comes down, if it's ruled by like a based autocrat, based our guy autocrat, nationalist guy, he basically puts the hammer of the government down, and the boomer says, no, you will not drink beer, you'll buy healthy veggies for your family. I have nothing against that. I do not worship the individual's free will and the individual's choices. From our central axiom that people are not genetically equal also comes a rejection of the cult of free markets. Some people make very dumb decisions, and sometimes a government order is better than their own voluntary will because their will is corrupted by their gluttony. And I want to mention it specifically in context of the UK for the Homeland Party because you had a ministeress called Margaret Thatcher, and while she closed all the coal plants, and when the workers striked, she sent the cops in to beat them down, the bobbies down to beat up the miners, and and now the industry's gone. It's been exported to China. I'm not saying that the industry should be restored. It's a very polluting industry. You should try to get gas and renewables as your energy source. But I think that this crisis, if a Volksgemeinschaft government, if a communitarian government would have been in power during that sort of crisis, they would have tried to retrain the workers, pay them compensation wages, and not treated them like that. A lot of these current business owners in the elite, they actually are sociopaths. Like, I think Ryan Falk did some research on that. I think actually 4chan discussed it with the Wolf of Wall Street movie. These guys are sociopaths. They don't give a shit about the my country, my race, all the workers are starting. Like, they want profit. They want to get profit so they can jerk off to the number in their bank account. They want to buy exotic luxury trips to Hawaii on their private yacht and private jet. They don't give a shit about the environment. They basically become spineless profit vampires. You can see it with YouTube, for example. Like, they just allow leftists on the platform, like open communists like Hakeem and stuff, and they ban race realism. It's against their interest. Like, if you promote open communists, like, they will eventually be killed by them. But because they just only see short-term profit, they look, oh, what is social acceptable? We'll promote that. They're like extremely spineless to the point they will sell, as Mark said, a rope to the guy who wants to hang them. And a certain amount of sociopathy is required to be at the top there, because these guys, they want to present this lovey-dovey butterfly effect movie scene where they're just offering a necessary service, and they're not doing anything shady, which is just untrue. They sometimes collude with mafia, they collude with the government, they lobby, they buy politicians. And if you lose your worship for these people, it is one of the best ways to protect your race, your kind, your community. If you lose your worship for these big fat cat bosses, because then you see through their motives, and you see when they're being treacherous, and you do not hesitate to call it out and to call for action against it, government action or community action or strike action, whatever. Like, these are not your friends. These people have their own elite circles, and they are very much hedonistic and sociopathic a lot of times. Now, back in the day, yes, like one of the first people that established industries, or like the inventors like Nikola Tesla or Edison, they had a spark in them. They donated to charities. They had a actual passion for the business. But with the neoliberal economic model, you have a lot of privatization and like stockholderization, which means that the stocks are just basically sold on the stock exchange, and people that buy them, they don't necessarily have a passion for the industry. They just want money, or like the big pension funds, or the big trust funds. They buy these stocks, and what decisions they make in the stockholder meetings, they're just purely for profit. If they sack the workers, if they destroy the local community, but they can save a penny, they'll do it. They'll just do it. And we need the industry to be led by people who are actually confident and competent and passionate about making this factory succeed, not just sucking it out for a Bugatti. And I am not opposed to the idea of workers' councils. If you can get some workers' councils in your corporate board meetings, also lobby for that. If it corresponds with the left, don't be dissuaded by it. Sometimes they have good ideas. And just be certain that the economy serves the people, not the other way around. The economy is not there to buy private yachts and golden toilets and useless plastic shit from Vietnam, Cambodia, Southeast Asia, India, Bangladesh, and China, and to export all the Brit-Bong working class jobs overseas. Like, I've seen some of the people in the middle class who are like, oh yeah, the workers, they're these smelly, dirty, drunkard bunch. Why are they with drinking and drug problems? Because they want work. They want to have a meaning in their life. They're like nowadays they're concentrating around their football teams. Go North FC, no go South FC. They're like in these skinhead football gangs and stuff. That is because they have lost meaning, and they are not evil. Like they may have a lower IQ statistical and average than the middle class, whatever, but they're still your people. And as long as they're honest workers who have done their job for a long time, they deserve a pension, they deserve a decent retirement, they deserve a job, and they deserve to be a part of your national community. Not to be some like disposable element that can be thrown away as soon as like a Chinese dude can do the same job in a sweatshop for 2 cents. Try to buy domestically, try to reuse your clothes. Just try not to subsidize like these globalist industries that much. It's one of the worst things that has happened to the Western world, this deindustrialization. And what does this deindustrialization do? It also takes away our combat capacity. Let's say you get into a war. Let's say Putin invades, or I don't know, some neo-Islamic state pops up and blockades the trade routes. You're going to have a deficit. But if you have a domestic industry that can produce at least the essentials like food, basic clothes, heating, you know, basic toys, whatever, you will be more secure if the international trade routes shut down or something like that. And another thing I would suggest is you should check what the both the Soviets and the National Socialist regimes did. They awarded medals to workers and ranks and stuff, and maybe you should do that as well. Like you could give them some nice awards, some titles like Heroic Laborer of the United Kingdom, Hero of Labor of the United Kingdom, for valiant engineering, for long service in the labor force. Like that sort of thing really motivates them, because people are not only motivated by resources, they want a community. According to the Maslow hierarchy of needs, people want to be a part of something, they want to be appreciated by their community. And I think such appreciation would go much further than just, giving them increased pay and vacations, although that is also good. And, also try to work out shifts so that if you have like an excess labor force, rather than just firing people, you can shorten work days and work in shifts, so one dude doesn't have to work like 12 hours a day or something like the Victorian era. And well, something I have to remind about in these sorts of circumstances is also, race is not everything. Like there are some Wignats who say, "Oh, race is everything. If you just get rid of the Hindus or the blacks, everything will go to like utopia. It will be like this Murdoch movie, whatever." No, you have degenerate elements within any race. Like, for example, the French Revolution. Before that, the French aristocracy was overspending during the time of deficit while the people were starving. And, you can blame the revolution on Jews or Freemasons or whatever, but the fact is that these guys were overspending during a time of deficit, and they were being degenerates, and they were very, very separated from the people. And that is the opposite of the idea of Volksgemeinschaft. And so, for a communitarian homeland movement to work, you should try to be communitarian. You should emphasize Volksgemeinschaft, buying locally, support the local farmers, support the local working class, and stick together. Do not sell each other out for cheap Chinese plastic junk like the Americans did during the great neoliberal era, especially in the 1990s. Your people come first, and that means also your consumption habits and your attitudes towards members of different professions. It should be solidarity and not fighting over who is the fanciest class and why the working class is dumb and poor, and why those Brit bongs are worse than our Brit bongs, and why North FC is better than South FC, etc., etc. So stay communitarian and stay loyal to your own people, and try to find a Volksgemeinschaft for yourself.